The media has developed a personalization bias. Personalization occurs when journalists highlight the human interest trials and triumphs of a particular situation. Personalizing a story makes it more relatable and comprehensible to the consumer. A focus on the bigger social, economic, or political picture of the situation is lost. The bias becomes especially dangerous when personalization is extended to the wrong subjects of the story. March 17, 2013, Ohio teens Trent Mays and Malik Richmond were found guilty of raping a 16-year-old girl last summer. When CNN covered the verdict of the trial, they only discussed the two boys and completely failed to mention anything about the victim.
Two-star high school football players in Steubenville, Ohio, have been found guilty of raping a West Virginia teenager.
Two young men that had such promising futures, star football players, very good students, literally watched as they believed their life fell apart. One of the young men, Malik Richmond, when that sentence came down, he collapsed. He collapsed in the arms of his attorney, Walter Madison. He said to him, "My life is over. No one is going to want me now." Very serious crime here. Both found guilty of raping the 16-year-old girl at a series of parties back in August. Alcohol-fueled parties. Alcohol, a huge part in this. But Trent Mays was also found guilty on a second count, and that is of felony illegal use of a minor in nudity-oriented material because he took a photograph of the victim laying naked on the floor that night. Trent Mays will serve 2 years in a juvenile detention facility. Malik Richmond will serve 1 year on that one count that he was found guilty for. But I want to let our viewers listen, because for the first time in this entire trial, we have now heard from the two young men. Trent Mays stood up apologizing to the victim's family in court. After him, Malik Richmond. Listen.
I would truly like to apologize to Elena, her family, my family, and the community. No picture should have been sent around, let alone even taken. That's awesome. Thank you.
Anything you'd like to say, Malik?
I would like to apologize to you people.
I had no intention to do anything like that. I'm sorry to put you guys through this. That's just not...
Malik's father got up and spoke. Malik has been living with guardians. His father, a former alcoholic, gotten into a lot of trouble with the law, been in prison before. And his father stood up and he told the court, "I feel responsible for this. I feel like I wasn't there for my son." And before that, he came over to the bench where his son was sitting. He approached him, he hugged him, and he whispered in his ear. And Malik's attorney said to us in the courtroom, "I have never heard Malik's father before say, 'I love you.'" He's never told his son that, but he just did today. This was an incredibly emotional day. These two juveniles being carried out right now. I'm watching people line up, and they will be committed today.
16-year-old now just sobbing in court. Regardless of what big football players they are, they still sound like 16-year-olds. The other one, 17, a 16-year-old victim. The thing is, when you listen to it and you realize that they could stay until they're 21, they are going to get credit for time served. What's the lasting effect, though, on two young men being found guilty in juvenile court of rape, essentially?
Well, you know, Candy, we've seen here a courtroom drenched in tears and tragedy, and, you know, Poppy's description, I think, sums it all up. But across America, scenes like this happen all the time. I know as a prosecutor and a defense attorney, when that verdict is handed down, usually it's just the families of the defendants and the victims. There's always that moment of just lives are destroyed, and lives have already been destroyed by the crime, and we got a chance to see that. But in terms of what happens now, yeah, the most severe thing with these young men is being labeled as registered sex offenders. That label is now placed on them by Ohio law. And by the way, the laws in most other states now require such a designation in the face of such a serious crime. That will haunt them for the rest of their lives. Employers, when looking up their background, will see that they're registered sex offenders. When they move into a new neighborhood and somebody goes on the internet where these things are posted, neighbors will know that they're a registered sex offender. It's really something that will have a lasting impact, much more of a lasting impact than going to a juvenile facility for 1 or 2 years.
CNN received immediate backlash for their coverage, including a petition on Change.org that moved for them to issue a formal apology. CNN executive responded by saying, "Poppy is taking this extremely personally as a woman. She's outraged someone would think she'd do such a thing as slant her coverage towards rapists." CNN played right into the narrative of rape culture. As a country, we still treat sexual assault as a joke and do not understand what rape is. A witness who walked in on one of the men raping the young woman said he didn't believe it was rape because it wasn't violent. He thought rape was forcing yourself onto someone. Many people, including the media, subscribe to rape myths. Rape myths are prejudices and stereotypes about rape, rapists, and rape victims. Rapists are often described as monsters or displaying beast-like characteristics. Victims are either portrayed as virgins being attacked by monsters, or as promiscuous women who are asking for it. Because journalists don't want to disclose too much detail, it is unlikely that they will report rape's negative impact on a victim. Often, the only things emphasized are what the victim was wearing and how she was behaving. And if a woman has been drinking, she's just plain asking for it. The victim in the Steubenville case was attacked on social media for drinking too much, getting into cars with boys, and ruining the lives of the 2 boys by bringing charges upon them. This got so out of hand that 2 women were charged with threatening her on Facebook and Twitter. Wisconsin State Representative Roger Rivard says, "Some girls rape easy, meaning that they call a night out that they later regret rape." One of the Steubenville High School football coaches told the New York Times the victim made the story up because she regretted getting drunk and staying out late. As a society, we come to expect and accept the story that victims and supporters are overreacting. Some journalists purposefully use these myths to sensationalize their stories. Others may have just internalized our country's beliefs about sexual assault and rape. Had the Steubenville victim been mentioned, they could have talked about the testimony she gave, in which she stated she had no memory of that night. When she woke up, she didn't know where she was or what had happened. However, there was plenty of evidence on the internet.
it's not just CNN. Let me be clear. This is probably the worst example of it, but it wasn't just CNN. Think Progress actually came up with a huge and horrific collection of just deplorable coverage on this. Here's the first sentence of the AP story on the trial. This is the AP, the first sentence from the story, quote, "Two members of Steubenville's celebrated high school football team were found guilty of raping a drunken 16-year-old girl." End quote. Yeah, stupid, drunk, teenage slut girl who destroyed the celebrated high school football team. Is Nightly News' Lester Holt, who introed the NBC Nightly News story, had this lovely take. Take a listen to NBC News.
The crime took place against the backdrop of an alcohol-fueled night of partying, later amplified by tweets, posted photos, and video. It left the town of Steubenville deeply divided, and in many ways tonight stands as a cautionary tale to a generation that has come of age in the era of social networking.
Yeah, because that's clearly what this crime is all about. It's clearly a cautionary tale in the age of social networking. That's what it is. It's a cautionary tale. So kids out there, take note. If you're going to rape someone, you shouldn't take pictures, tweet, and text about it. That's what NBC News wants you to know. That's what they want you. That's what this cautionary tale is about. Not taking pictures and tweeting your crimes. How about a cautionary tale of don't rape? How's that for a cautionary tale?
The media must provide accurate examples of rape that do not fit preconceived notions or fill the myths. Only when the expected narrative is broken can we deal with the real societal issues at hand.